Good evening, friends. So, after the near about 10 days, I guess, I'm just doing this video again. And this is for the two exams. There is a AZ 800 and one more is a AZ 801. These two exams are, like quite important one. I would like to talk about these two exams now. Like one is like administering the Windows Server hybrid core infrastructure, and the another one is Windows Server hybrid advanced services. Like, why do we, like to learn these things, and what is the importance for these two examinations? What we are going to learn from this one? Because everyone look for, like, when it goes to the Azure certification something, all will go for the AZ 104. 104 is nothing but like a normal, that is Azure administration side. Like, so that has got its own chapters, like creating the virtual machines and monitoring them, adding the new hard disk, that running some PowerShell commands, and doing some networking, firewall configurations, application installations, like apps and all, the web apps and all. How do you install that? It goes on like completely the infrastructure which has been talking about, the cloud infrastructure on the Microsoft Azure platform. AZ104 is like, like you can start with that, but you cannot just stay over there, because you just need to have something more to come up to this much level of, like, going for hybrid core architectures and going for something in advanced in the infrastructures like that. So nowadays everyone knows that the people are going for cloud, definitely, and there are a lot of migrations also happening that everyone knows about that. Migrations in the sense everything is getting migrated: virtual machines, databases, applications, and whatnot. You can just say that everything is getting migrated to the any one of the cloud, either it is a Microsoft Azure or AWS or the Google Cloud Platform, anything like that. So this is so when it goes to that migration, in the sense, we just need to know the proper virtualizations on the on-premises as well as in the data centers as well. On-premises, we normally use the VMware, ESXi. Like people are using that 6 and 7 and other things. Now 8 has come. ESXi 8 has come. So and some other people will be using that Oracle VirtualBox, but I don't know how many are using on the production environment, those things and all. It's possible we can use it. And the last one is about very important. There is a Hyper-V. Hyper-V is nothing but like hypervisor virtualization that is inbuilt, available on the any Windows platform. We can build the virtual machines on the Hyper-V. It's very simple. Like you don't need to install any applications or software or any updates. Nothing has been required. It's available in the Windows 10 itself. I installed it in my Windows 10. There are a lot of documents that are available on the internet, so you can search and you can start installing it. Takes only like 3 to 4 minutes only to install that. Means activating that service on the Windows 10 for laboratory purpose and all, I can just say. For education's learning and other things, you can go with that. So installing Hyper-V is not a bigger issue. Like we can go and activate that. How to activate that? I'll just say that it's a simple one. So just type that Hyper-V, because I already activated that. That's why it is showing the manager, quick create and other things. If it has not been activated, we have to activate that. And by going to this turn Windows features on and off. And here you see that Hyper-V. It's been already ticked. Already selected. Because I already installed it. So Hyper-V, under the Hyper-V management tools, Hyper-V GUI management tools, Hyper-V module for the Windows PowerShell, Hyper-V platform, Hyper-V hypervisor, Hyper-V services, everything need to get selected, and I just click OK on that. Once you do that, it will start installing. That means it's been already there in the Windows. So it will install all the services for you, or you can even run Command on the PowerShell is also possible. You don't need to go here. You can even create completely managing everything on a PowerShell itself. It is possible, but you need to know the commands on a PowerShell. If the people are not quite convenient with the PowerShell commands and all, just go ahead and just do this Hyper-V activations. Okay. Why I'm talking about always an Hyper-V in the sense, let me cancel this because I already installed it. Because here they are talking about only on Hyper-V. Hyper-V, you see that? All are Hyper-V only. Hyper-V, let me type. Where is it? It's not going. So it is on Hyper-V. You can just see. Manage Hyper-V guest virtual machines. Right. And the next one, configuring the Hyper-V network adapter, configuring the Hyper-V switch. Right. It's like that. Managing the Hyper-V and the cluster virtual machines like that. So everything is on Hyper-V only. That's what I would like to tell you about that. We just need to learn the Hyper-V, first of all. It's a simple one. No need to worry about that. It's not that much, like complicated like the VMware or any other virtualization platforms. Okay. So these are all the skill measured for this February 3, 2023. This is the latest exam. What we are going to learn on this one, like a normal ADDS services, ADDS, like how we know how to install the, the domain controllers and other things. I don't want to take that. It's a pretty simple one. Anyone can install that. Windows 2012 itself be working on with the domain controllers and other things. But here I just installed the 2016 on it. Okay. Deploy ADDS on-premises cloud environment. Work servers workload in hybrid environment. Hybrid is nothing but like that. We have on-premises as well as in the cloud. That is called as a hybrid environment. Means people would not like to, like migrate it to the cloud in the sense they would like to run it in the on-premises itself, but still the cloud clients who are coming from the cloud, means in sense, cloud there are some applications are running on that, then they would like to make a connectivity towards on-premises or vice versa. People will go from remote locations to hybrid. We'll be connecting to the cloud services on the Hyper-V like that. It goes on. So that is a hybrid environment. Then we'll go with the like virtual machine containers, on-premises and hybrid networking infrastructure, manage and store the file services. This is normal thing. ADS, domain controller, multi-site, multi-forest, security principles. So hybrid identities in the sense, Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, that we need to learn. How do you create that Azure AD? How do you connect your local machine to the Azure AD? How will you make the people to join to that domain, which is created on Azure AD? Or how will you connect your normal domain controller to the Azure? Connect this to the cloud services. Some option will be there on the server manager, you can see. So these are all the things which are been, like discussed on this. And it's a very important exam. Implementing the Azure AD Connect, Azure AD Connect synchronizations, connect cloud sync, domain services, and connect health, many things are there. And see workload and hybrid environment in the sense we will come back to the Hyper-V architecture. Just go through this one. It's a simple one. You see that. Manage Hyper-V and guest virtual machines. Enable the VM enhanced session mode. Manage VM using the PowerShell remoting, PowerShell Direct, SSH Direct for the Linux VMs. Configure the nested virtualization. Nested in the sense already the virtual machine is running inside, you will create the virtual machines. So that is a nested virtualizations. Configuring the VM memory, integration services, discrete device managed assignments, VMs, CPU groups, hypervisor scheduling types, many things are checkpoints, you see that. Managing the VHD and VHDX files, configuring the Hyper-V network adapter, configuring NIC teaming, it's like a NIC bonding we normally call. Configuring the Hyper-V switch. Switch in the sense like how the virtual machines will be talking to the internally. and they'll be talking to the external listens to the internet, and they would like to talk privately. That is also there. So similar. Like if you say in VMware, we'll be having the NAT adapter, internal adapter, and the bridge adapter, something like that. So similar. Everywhere you go, only the names are different. That's it. So creating and managing the containers like that. So this is something more like, it's coming on the Azure side. But this we need to understand it. This Hyper-V things, we should be understanding that. Once we have all these things in a proper condition, like the Hyper-V, if you understood properly, because even in Azure machine also, like you can install the server and you can start the Hyper-V, Hyper-V visualizations on the servers itself to create the virtual machines inside to do the nested things. So without visualization, it's not possible for anything like. And if you're an administrator and you're working on Azure, you like to do some kind of an AD and other things and all, a lot of opportunities are there for people who are been good at Azure side like that. So once you did this one AZ800, then you can go to the AZ801. There are 2 exams of that. These are like one by one, like it just comes. This comes in the next hybrid advanced services like that it comes. And it has got updates in the exams and other thing. You can see that 2022 is the latest one. Exam patterns like that. So here, what do you do normally? Like securing the Windows Server on-premises and hybrid infrastructure. Implement and manage the Windows Server high availability. High availability is nothing but like a failover cluster. We'll have to make that failover cluster on the Hyper-V environment as well as in the Azure AD environment also. It's a big task for you. Like implementing the disaster recovery, migrate the servers and workloads, monitor and troubleshoot the Windows Server environment. So this is a bit high. That's why it is called as an advanced one. You just need to complete the 800, then you come to the 801. It'll be easy for you. So this is about the Defender things. We can go through that and see Windows networking, Defender firewall, domain isolations, connectivity like connection security rules, BitLocker, and I think everything is related to the security related. Now we just come to the high availability. High availability is nothing but implementing the failover cluster on premises, hybrid, or cloud. You can even do the hybrid also. It means like one machine is in your on premises and another machine is in the cloud, Azure cloud. You'll be doing the failover cluster between these 2 guys. It's pretty challenging. Anyway, you can try that in the Hyper-V. All these things very easy, simple. In Windows 10, you can activate the Hyper-V and then you can start installing the 2016 server. You take minimum 1922 now it's not required. 16 you take that and start identifying that how to create the like failover cluster for that. And what is the like the infrastructure is going to be. What are the things that are required for that? Just take 2 servers and create a failover cluster. No. We require one domain controller, and in the domain controller, these 2 servers need to talk to each other. Like they don't need to join the domain. You need to make them to join to the domains, but you don't need to run any Active Directory services on the failover cluster. It's not required. They require to be part of the domain, same domain, and the hardware and software requirements are there. Like when you try to create the failover cluster, they should be of the same operating system. It's like Windows 16, 2016 means the same memory and other things and the software components which are required for that. We just need to activate certain things on that side. And failover cluster need to be like a failover cluster manager, something like that. It should be activated under the server manager. So these are like dependencies of it. When you just create those things, it's all like menu based only. Like you just go and click and create the cluster like that. Once cluster started, then we can manage that from the failover cluster manager on this. On another node, we can just start with it. But they will be talking through the DC only, means like a domain controller. So you create one domain controller, and that domain controller, the cluster servers like Windows 2016 1 and 2 will be part of that will be part of the domain. And cluster has been made from the server and server 2. DC will be just out. It will be providing the DNS service and the domain service. That's it. Nothing else it does. Then if you like to add the hard disk, it means they need to have some shared hard disk and all that. Because when it is failing, they need to find the application which are running on the backend. So the client has to go and talk to that. Even the one server is failed, another server has to come up. Actually, we are not giving, we can configure it in active like that. Possible. The one goes down, another will be always active. So it will go through that server and it will be talking to the backend. It's like that. So we can even implement the load balancing on the failover cluster, floating IP. Many things we can do. Right? So managing the failover clustering, failover cluster aware updating, recovering a cluster node, upgrade the node to the Windows Server 2022. Many things are there in this. And then storage is, we require the storage has to be configured. Means like a shared storage it is going to be. For that we require that iSCSI initiators and other thing has to be configured. Else we will have to go for kind of third-party software like that Starwind is there. So once you install that Starwind, then you'll be able to create the storages for the failover cluster to share in between them. Like that, which you can do. Okay, and the disaster recovery backup and other things other which we always do. You know, like Mars backup is many other backups also, site recovery and other things. And Hyper-V replicas which we can create that. So everything is related towards the Hyper-V. You will not be able to use any VMware or Oracle VirtualBox or something. So you require the proper knowledge on the Hyper-V. So you may have to activate the Hyper-V in the machines also to initiate your failover cluster to work properly. And the iSCSI initiator, because the iSCSI is nothing but like the iSCSI controller, which controlling that shared drive like that. So people go on top to that in the backend like that. So migrating the server, then this is about starting about the migrating using the Azure Migrate, something like that. Workloads into AWS. Then you go out that migrate to the Hyper-V host, managing the AWS means like Internet Information Service, web services. So this is about, these two exams, one is 800. What is that? 800 is simple. What is that simple? Hybrid core infrastructure administering. And another one is like 801. It is an advanced service. These two things are quite important for people who are trying to become L3 on the server side, Windows server side. So I already installed this. Would like to show some other things on this one. So I already installed the Hyper-V, activated that. That's why they were showing that all are checkboxed. Like tick mark were there. Hyper-V is already running. It doesn't take much. What is that? Memory or something. Hyper-V doesn't take that. But once you're running, the many VMs are in the sense like every other virtual machine requires its own memory and the CPU has to be allocated for each and everything. It's a pretty simple. It is a hypervisor, can be installed, it can be activated on this. You don't require a third party for that. See here it comes like that. So it takes normally the name of the machine which has been running on this. And you just do that right click and you can go with that new virtual machine you can create. Hard disk you can create, floppy disk you can create. Or you can go for importing the virtual machine which has been already created like that. So this is about Hyper-V settings, overall entire settings about that, global settings. Virtual switch manager, we can create the switches for our own. There is a default switches available. We'll talk about that later. Virtual SAN manager. This is for storage area network level. Edit the disk, inspect the disk, stop service, remove server, refresh and all these. Which you can do all, as well as this same thing also available over here. And this is for each and every machine which we can able to control it. Like if I'm selecting this Windows this 2016 CL1, then I can click on connect, settings, turn off, shut down, I can do. Okay. So this is about the individual machine, individual virtual machines control. This is the entire global control of the Hyper-V. All right. So the screen will be looking like this. You can create all the virtual machines over here. It'll be one by one, it'll be showing on this one. You can shut down, you can switch off, you can start, you can merge, you can take the checkpoints. Like checkpoints are nothing but like a snapshots, which we normally do on the VMware. So like every other things, whatever we are doing on the VMware or VirtualBox, which we can do everything on this Hyper-V. Only thing we need to activate that service on this. And we require to have some memory as well as the CPU power so that we can have multiple VMs running on the same platform. Okay. So here, in this settings, you can just see this. So where the hard disk will be located, the locations I can give it here. Virtual machines where I would like to keep it like that. We can edit this. It's not a by default. It will be taking that C program file something. We don't have the much space on the C drive, and also we can give it on the external drive. I have the passport 4 TB. So I show the path to that one. And this is no more services and spanning. This is a storage migrations. So I don't need to go this much of this enhanced sessions. And this is a keyboard, another thing like that. It goes. So this is about overall settings on the Hyper-V. You can leave that. Then you can come to this switch manager. This is very important. So in this switch manager, we can create our own network adapters for the virtual machine to talk, to connect to the outside, inside, private, like that. We can create. And there is one default switch is this default switch is always, even if you don't create any switch or something in Hyper-V, this default switch has always been there. So this will make the connectivity to the outside for every other VM that has been created under this, attached with this default switch. Means it will be providing that, like once the default switch has been created, then we can give the IP to this one. Okay, there is an IP which we can give on this default switch. Let me show you that IP. I given my own IP like that. So change our options. It's a Windows 10, just nothing. So this is the default switch. Ethernet, it is showing default switch. In this default switch, go to the properties. You need to edit that because the IP is not been given. Okay. TCP IP v4. Just go forward and check the properties. I given this IP like this. Okay. It's been something like that. It has been taken on this. You can even give that IP, or you can just go ahead with the normal IP itself. Whatever it has been assigned on this one. So you can connect this each and every virtual machine to this kind of, like the network adapter. You don't need to worry about configuring any network adapter for that. In VMware, we normally create the NAT adapter. So same NAT adapter is nothing but default switch in the Hyper-V. And if you like to create, I created this internal V1. This is internal one like that. So this is the internal network. I created this internal network. And here it is. Is it internal? Yeah, this internal. Just go to the properties. I created this because I just given the IP for this one here. You can have the IP over here. 1050.1.1. Just give it. As you like that, because whichever it is a free in your own machines, you can give it on that. That's possible. So like if you like to create anything like new virtual switch, you can create external connection, you can create internal connection, you can create the private connections. You can even create a NAT adapter also, it is possible. You just need to go through the documentations how to create that. So if you do not want to do anything on the network side, if you're not comfortable with it, not clear with it, just go ahead with the default switch. It's easy. Because it provides the IP address on its own by the DHCP on this. Then it provides the connectivity to the outside of the PC. Like it will talk to the normal network connections on the internet connections on the Windows 10, and it will talk to the outside. Like the NAT adapter, it is doing it. And the internal you can create, and if you like to create it like that, you just go ahead and create it. External create virtual switch. internal create VSwitch, private like this. So this is about that. And what else? Yeah, SAN manager, virtual SAN manager, in the sense you can create some kind of SAN, storage area network. So click to create, add a virtual fiber channel storage area network, something like that. If you want to create, you can create that. For to provide the connectivity to your hard disk connectivity, means extra hard disk and other things. If you like to give it like a shared something like that, you can just give it. So this is about Hyper-V. It's not much, like advanced things, like you don't need to learn things, nothing like that. Pretty simple. You just go ahead with it. So I created the, like the one DC I created. It's a domain controller which is running. And this is a cluster 1 and a cluster 2 I created. All are running on the same Windows 2016 only. So this is pretty simple. This is a DC. Let me go to the DC and I'll show you. This is the DC machine. I guess you can see that. So this is a DC. There is ADDS is configured, DNS is configured. File and storage services. Everything is being configured. So the domain is going to be like, it's going to be the ramnet.local something. Let me make it something bigger so you can clearly see that. I make it 20. It will be nice. So big. Okay. Just say ipconfig/all. You can see them all thing. Here it is. Windows 2016 DC. DC means it's a domain controller configured. Ramnet.local. That is a domain name which is configured. And it has been running with that all things and all. What is the IP configured? I given that internal only is just configured. Okay. Internal adapter which I know like connected to this. I don't require an internet connection for this, so I just created only the internal things for this. And the DNS has been running on this one. So this is a normal ADDS which has been configured. And let me go to that. The second means like a client 1. Like that. Let me go there. Close this and I close that. So this is about the client machine. In the client machine, what I have, a simple client. And this has been attached to the domain as well. Like. See that, let me go to the local server, I'll show you. It's coming up, takes time. Ramnet.local, like this. So if I just click on this, you'll be able to see this. We just do the change. This is a CL1 means like client 1, I given it. Cluster, first PC, first server like that. And the domain is ramnet.local. It has been already been joined. Okay, I didn't do anything extra. And let me start this and I will show you that it's been joined or not. Get into the PowerShell. Let me make it slightly bigger so that you can see it clearly. 18 I'll make. ipconfig/all. Because the memory is less, that's why it is taking a lot of time. Okay. Can't give much memory because I have only 16 GB only. So oh, it's here, yeah. It's a Windows 2016 CL1 and ramnet.local. It's been running on this. I can even ping that my 2K16-DC dot. I can ping that. It's possible. By the name, it's ping. Means like a DNS server is been there. Because the DNS server, I just configure it like the DC only. That's a requirement of this. So it comes like, so this is a DNS server. This is nothing but our DC server. Like that, the same configuration has been done on the CL2 also. Let me go to the CL2. It's here. The PowerShell, it's yeah. Next time. It's a CL2 on run. Right. So the same DNS server here, like it's a required one. Otherwise, it doesn't work out. When you try to cookie 16-dc.ramnet.loop, it'll work out. Otherwise, they will not be making the cluster as well. Like, okay. To make in the cluster, in the sense, every other node in the cluster has to be installed with this, the feature. What is the feature? I'll show you that. It's a failover cluster feature. It's required. So it's a feature. It's not a role again. Okay. Just go back to this one. You see, failover clustering. It's already installed. So this need to be installed. You don't need to restart the server after installing this failover clustering. I'm just canceling it because I already done it. So this need to be done on the first and second nodes also. Once you've done this, once you ping all these things, means like first of all, what we need to do, we need to create the DC. There is a domain controller has to be created with the proper domain DNS and everything has to be perfectly set. Then second, create the cluster node 1 and then cluster node 2. And both should be our same OS, 2016 with the same memory and other configurations as well. And this failover cluster has to be installed on this. And they need to join the domain. We don't need to run the AD on that clusters. I'm not running any AD here. So once they join the domain, then they will be able to talk to each other by the DNS and other things. Then we will go ahead and install the manager. I'm on the CL2. Let me go back to the CL1. We'll go to the CL1. I'm here. Yes. So this is nothing but the failover cluster manager. Let me do one thing. I'll close this. I'll start from here. If you like to start this failover cluster, so it is now it's shutting down. Okay. Let it get shut down. Takes time because there is so much memory for this. I don't allow much memory for this because I don't have, taking a hell lot of time. Snapping to complete. So this failover cluster piece of, like the feature should be installed in the cluster nodes only, not on the DC. DC is just unaware of what is happening on these two guys. They are managing themselves like that. So this responsibility of this one, like they should be joining the domain and be as a computer on the domain and provide and getting the DNS services from the DC like that. It's taking so much time. Management console. So I would like to show you like by just starting that, and I like to show you. And these two servers need to be talking in the same, all three servers has to be in the same subnet as well, like that is for sure. Because they have to be on the same subnet so that they can talk to each other. That's why I kept it in the internal only. All are in 1050.1.0/24 subnet. So go here to the tools and failover cluster manager. We can start this manager and we can configure this manager in just one cluster node. Other cluster node can be, like included to this manager itself. So I'm starting this one. So failover cluster manager, I'm showing that. So what we can do, we can create the validate configuration first. That is the first step to do that. Then we can go ahead with the creating the cluster on this. Validate configuration in the sense, it will be verifying the configurations for the servers to get included to this failover cluster. It is going to run some multiple tests, and verifying the things, whether it is being properly configured, and it is having the proper domain names, and it is having the DNS configured, and it is on the same subnet. And there are a lot of around 100 tests are there. Everything is going to be tested on this. You just click on the next. Then to enter the name in the sense, we can go ahead and just click browse. On this browse, you just see that this is a computers. Object type is nothing but a computers. And the location is nothing but a ramnet.local. That is the domain name of this. So to find out these computers like that, the 1 and 2, the clusters, you can click on advanced and you can click find now. Let me show that again. Start the, first we need to go for the validating the configurations. Validating the configurations will be verifying all the cluster things, whether it has been properly, they are qualified for to be on the cluster or something. So that has been tested, verified. After validating only, we need to go and create the cluster. So don't create the cluster directly. It doesn't work out anything. So just click on the browse and object type is a computers and ramnet.local. This should be coming up automatically if it has been configured properly. Means this client, this cluster one has been already been joined in the domain of ramnet.local, and the cluster 2 node is also been joined. That's why it has been showing. Now just click on advanced and click find now. It will be asking the username and password. Just provide the administrator username and password. Provide the password. I kept the password the same for all the servers. So now it has started showing all the computers which are under this, the domain. You see that I created so many things. It is showing already many things and all. CL1 and CL2 are the qualified guys, because these two are going to be in the cluster node 1 and the cluster node 2. I am selecting only these two. DC is not required. SAN and SAN2, I tried to create it and all. I can just omit that. And other clusters, we already tried out everything. So, okay, I just do these two selections and I just click OK. And it has been selected. It's having the underline, means it has been checked, verified. So click OK. So 2 nodes are verified, you see. So it has been on the, already on the cluster now. There are 2 servers left to verify. Now it is getting verified. I guess because I'm doing it again and again, that's why it is creating an issue, maybe. The operation is taking longer than expected. Because the cluster has been already created, that's why. I can even connect to the cluster and I can try. Let's see what happens. Yeah, now it's been already on the cluster itself. So I can go to the next. Then it will going to run all the tests as well. So click next, and these 2 nodes are selected for to run the test to be get qualified for to be in the failover cluster. We can add as many as servers. There is no limit for this, but minimum 2 is required. Okay. 2 servers required so that we can do the failover. So 2 servers required minimum. Then try that, because my the VM capacity and memory and other things are lesser, so I'm just doing it with only 2. Just click next. These are all the tests are automatically running. So how many tests are there, which we don't know? Maybe around 100 tests must be running. So run all the tests. I chosen that all the tests running. So it is taking the verification for all each and every component of that particular machine. And it will be verifying it and it will be showing me that it's been done. You see that it's checking the second node now. First and second, whether it's doing. taking so long. Validating the cluster. Test is currently running. So now it is checking the network communication for that now. So this is taking always like a bit more time. 1 by 1% it will go. We have to wait until it's getting finished to create the cluster. Okay. We don't need to create the cluster because the cluster is already been there. I'll just show you like how to create the cluster on this. Once the verification has been over, we can try for creating the cluster. It's all done. The test has passed. So these three are there. Actually, this I removed it from there. This has been stopped. It's saying that. Okay, I can just click finish. So now the validity has been done. Validation has been done. Then I can go for creating the cluster. Then cluster creation will be like this. Again, you'll have to go for the enter the service server names. Advanced, you just go and click find now. Provide the like username and password. Then it'll show all the computers as well. So I can choose these two. I don't want to create the cluster because I already created. Yeah, I'll just show you like how, because now it's not showing any cluster at all. Maybe worrying about that, but we just need to click connect to the cluster. Once it has been created, we can just click connect to the cluster. The cluster I have is now the Julia cluster I cleared. We can connect to this. So now it has been populating all the information about the cluster. Here the cluster, Julia cluster. This is the IP which I given for this cluster. 10.50.1.75. It is on the same subnet as the cluster 1 and cluster 2 nodes are residing, as well as the DC is also residing. I can just expand. This is the name of this Julia cluster.ramnet.local. I can expand this and I can go to the nodes. What all the nodes are there? This is down because I didn't started that. I started only the cluster 1 and cluster 2. SAN I tried for like storage as well, like storage area network. One more machine for storage area. So I just shut it down. Now it is cluster 1 and cluster 2 is running. It's both are happening. So if you select this, you'll be able to see the characteristics of this. Node ID is 1, uptime is 2 minutes, and memory, this much is available. Processor, CPU, operating system, version, service pack. Everything will be showing, like network connections. It's up. Ethernet is up. No. Connection is up. This is IP 1.3. And roles and days, like you can go for physical disk. And I can select this CL1, that is the server where I logged in. And click on summary to see this. It's up. And this much is the memory and other things on the network connection is up. That's why we're seeing there is a green color. It's showing up. IP is 1050.1.2. Like that. Roles, days, and other things. So this is about the invite. We can even assign the roles for this guys. Configure the role. So what role we would like to assign for the each server, like DHCP server, distributed transaction coordinator. Later we can choose that file server and other things. Hyper-V, replica back, broker, like that I can do. So this is about the nodes which are created on the cluster like that. Storage, you can go to the storage. This is going to be the storage for the cluster is going to maintain all these things. Means the disks which are managed under the cluster. The disks will be always available. And even once the cluster 1 piece has been done, in the sense like CL1 is down, in the sense CL2 will be giving the connectivity to the people to connect to the backend storage. That is what we need to add the disk. So disks, currently there is nothing. We just need to add the disk. We just need to click add disk. Now it is saying no disk is suitable for cluster disks were found. So that is nothing but like the backend server connectivity when we're going for it, that we need to create the disks on this. Maybe like I'll do another, the video for that. Until now, we just seen this much, like failover cluster manager. So you can do one thing, like what are the networks are there? You can just click the cluster network, the things. If you want to shut down the cluster, you can do this. More actions you can go. Quorum settings, cluster roles, shut down the cluster, destroy the cluster. If you do not want the cluster anymore, we can destroy the cluster itself. We can even add more node as well. It is possible. You see that, add node. Anytime we can add the node. Means like 2 nodes are currently running, 2 servers are currently running. CL1 and CL2 is. If you like to add one more node in the sense, we can add it. Because that will be giving the like resiliency more. Like people can go for, if something has been down, at least the 3rd node has been there, so they will have the backend connectivity. The same procedure we just need to follow. Like go for browsing and click on advanced, go on find now. The server should have been done with the previous necessary steps. What is that? Server should have been in the same subnet. It should be having the same operating system installed. Memory and hardware requirement has to be matching exactly as the other servers, right? And it should be joining the domain, and the DNS name should be registered already on that. Yeah. So DNS name, in the sense, I can show you that on the DC. DC, we can go to the DNS server. And the DNS server, you'll be able to see that what other servers are already been attached to this as a computers like that. DNS manager like this. So you just see in this one, like forward lookup zones, these are already registered. CL1 and CL2. Those are already been there. Forward lookup zones and domain zones and other things are like that. Already been there, so no need to worry about this. So once you join the computer to this one, you'll be able to see this one on this link. Okay. And if you just would like to see this, the other thing, like ADD is like that, like the computers and other things. Users and computers, it will be showing that what all the machines are attached to this DC, like this. It's here. CL1 and CL2 computers. SAN2 has also been there. The cluster is also been there. You see the July cluster will be appearing over there. Failover cluster for the network, like name and account and other things. So this is pretty simple to create that failover cluster. And as I said, that we can even destroy that, more actions. If you want to shut down the cluster, you can go and shut down. Are you sure you want to shut down the cluster? Yes. Now it is shutting down. Now it's not available. If you like to connect back again, you can create another cluster. You can connect to that same cluster as well. Then it will be coming up, it will be showing the selections. Then we can connect to that. But it requires a passion for you, like, like creating, verifying, adding them. Maybe taking a lot of time for you. But if you follow the proper steps now, it'll be quite easier for you to, like create the cluster and other things. It's been there. Now it is there. CL1 is stopped. CL2 is stopped. Its cluster is initiating now, so it takes time. attempting to connect to that SAN 2. SAN 2 is not available. That's why it is going to that one. So it is being stopped now. So what we need to do, we need to start the cluster because we shut down it. We just connect to that only. We need to start the cluster. Click on starting the cluster. It again may take some more time. So starting the cluster service and other thing. So it's running CL1. It is running, means the local server it is running, and the CL2, the second server, it is pending. It takes some time to come up online. Yeah, it's running now. Just click on this and take some time. This 1 out of 2. Now it's ready. It's ready. Nodes. If you just click the nodes, I'll be able to see the both the nodes. Anyway, this has been down. So because the server I didn't start at all, so it's showing down. 1 and 2 has been up and running. Okay. So this is what I would like to talk to you guys about the examination point of view. Like, what are the examinations we've seen? I'd like to show you again 800 administering the Windows Server hybrid core architecture and hybrid advanced service. So Hyper-V is an important. You need to learn the Hyper-V. Then go for ADDS and other connection, failover cluster. Then try to integrate it with an Azure AD. So that maybe like I'll be making another video for that. Pretty simple one. Like if you go to any server, let me go here. We say that connect the server to the cloud services. You can click on this. So it may take up to the Azure connections as well. There we need to create the domain and keep it ready so that we'll go and have the connectivity on that. So I'll be doing some more window videos based on this. Okay. So as usual, you can connect to me on my YouTube channel. YouTube channel is like HTTPS youtube.com, not B, it's a B. At Ramnath PSE. So this is the like handle on YouTube. And if you'd like to call me or WhatsApp me, you can call this number. You can WhatsApp me also back. So to the end notes, I can just say that yeah, always I used to say that I recommend my channel to the people, and please subscribe to mine. It's a technical channel, so completely free, so everyone can see and watch, and I can download the videos as well possible. I'll be doing some couple of videos on this one, like for this AZ800 and 801. So this video I just shown that Hyper-V plus like failover cluster and DC and other setup and other things. We'll go for the next one. We'll be adding some hard disk for that, sharing the hard disk and going for a failover and like testing. Then we'll go for activating the ADDS on the Azure, joining the like joining the local machines, joining the local computers to connect to the Azure AD. This all will see that. And thanks for watching. Please put on the comments whatever you would like to have it, and please recommend my channel to my people, to the people of yours, relatives, friends, colleagues, and other people. Thank you very much. See you once more on another video. Thank you. Bye-bye.